and welcome back to our Audit kickoff streams. My name is Jess, and today we have another exciting project for you to dive into. Yesterday, we saw the Benqi Ignite contest go live, and in this stream, we're going to sit down with the developer and get guided through that code base. As always, if you have any questions about the repo, please post them in the chat and we will discuss them at the end of today's stream. And if you have any questions at a later date, then you can head over to the Cyfrin Discord that is linked in the description. If you go there is a channel dedicated to this contest where you can ask other auditors questions and you can ask the Benqi developers as well. So before we get started, let's quickly take a look at the contest here, the details and what's going on. So let's share my screen very quickly. So this is the Benqi Ignite contest. We are looking at 1,367 lines of solidity, and we have a prize pool that is of 33,750 USDC, so $25 per line of code, which is brilliant. A very nice prize pool there for this scope. Now, let's take a look at what this contest is all about. Let's go through this about section before we bring the developer onto the stage. So Ignite by Benqi is a permissionless liquid staking protocol that subsidizes the stake requirement for validating on Avalanche. Zeeve is a partner validator hosting provider that assists in setting up and configuring nodes for Ignite users. Registrations made with hosted validators paid in QI are subject to additional QI rewards proportional to the duration staked, 1 of 2, 4, 8, or 12 weeks. So when we're looking at these contracts, there are 3 different actors involved. We have Benqi and Zeeve, who are both trusted, and then we have the end users as well. So with that all in mind, you can see on the CodeHawks platform, codehawks.cyfrin.io, all of the contest information. You can access the repo as well, and you can see, look, how to get started, any known issues that are in the code base, and the scope for this contest as well. Now, without further ado, I think it is time to bring on the Benqi developer to hear more about the code base in a more technical level, to go through the contracts and to take a look at the intended functionality. So I will now introduce Mikko. Mikko, if you could quickly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about this project.
All right, hello. Yeah, so Mikko, doing all kinds of development work for Benqi, and Ignite is now the hot topic, I guess, the newest thing in the pipeline. I think we can just dive directly into what it is. And for all of this to make sense, I think we need to introduce Avalanche a bit and how Ignite in general works before we go into like the specifics of this audit, which is going to be kind of a subset of an existing protocol. So what Ignite does is it allows users to use AVAX from Benqi's liquid staking pool to bootstrap their validators. And why is that useful is that the cost of running these validators is quite high, and this greatly reduces that cost. So it's kind of either stake your tokens, a small portion of the requirement to have us do the validation, or pay a monthly fee or whatever duration you choose, and we'll do the same. And what makes it a bit trickier is that Avalanche consists of a few different chains, and usually users operate on the C chain where validation is not possible. So we have to somehow bridge the AVAX from the C chain to the P chain where the actual validation happens. And that's where we, Benqi, and then Zeeve come in to help the users do that. So Ignite is that middleman there to do all of that. So Ignite's been operating for a year or 2, can't remember. It's been live for a while, but now we are extending it with this partnership with Zeeve, so that instead of users having to have their own nodes and providing the details for those for us to then go ahead and validate, users can simply just pay a fee, or actually, sorry, not pay, but stake their tokens, and then Zeeve will do the node setup and communicate with Ignite to do the validation as it's been doing for users for a couple of years now. So the scope of this audit is that extension part. And I think, let me share my screen. We can just directly hop. I'll walk through the code on a, well, quite a high level. We have lots of code, 1,300 and something lines of code. But I think today will be good if we just cover the main entry points. So first of all, we have our Ignite contract. This has all the normal Ignite stuff that's been live for quite a while. Lots of like events and initializers and admin-only functions. But what's useful here for this audit is that we have this new function introduced for this feature, which allows Zeeve to generate these validator requests for Ignite. So the idea here is that when a user signs up using Zeeve's code, that then comes here and tells Ignite to start the validation. But maybe we'll go through here first and see how the user actually interacts with this. So again, lots of internal stuff. Let's not touch those today, but if we go down here, we have two main entry points, stake with AVAX and stake with ERC20. So when users stake, they can choose between G, AVAX, or USDC as the token that they want to stake, and they call the appropriate function based on that choice. The front end handles all of that. What then happens is that whatever token they choose, that will be converted into G tokens by selling whatever tokens they provided on the LFJ exchange Trader Joe. And that fee or that stake will then be forwarded to Ignite and later returned to the user when the validation ends. So pretty much the same functionality, but depending on if you go for AVAX, the logic for dealing with the native tokens is a little bit different. And that's why we have a different entry point for that. But basically what these do, they just take in the tokens, validate that it's correct, validate that that's enough to do the validation, and cover a small fee for Zeeve to manage the validators, the actual servers for that stuff. And at the end of all of this, it's there, it's provisioning, and then Zeeve will detect that, hey, there's someone in the queue. We will set up a new node. And once that's ready, they will then go ahead and remove or call this contract again and tell that, hey, now it's done, which then goes and triggers Ignite. So stake with AVAX or stake with ERC20. Those are the user-facing entry points to sign up. Once they do that, Ignite does, or Zeeve does something in the background to create the servers and whatnot. And once that's done, they will provide all of the node-related details, like the node ID that identifies the particular node, plus this BLS proof of possession data that Avalanche requires for validation. Once that's done, at the end of all of this, this new staking contract or Zeeve contract will then call Ignite and trigger the new function that we built for this purpose. So at this point, the flow within this contract is pretty much done, and Ignite takes over. When we hop back here, what happens then is we again do a little bit of validation, check that the prices and token amounts and all of those are okay. And then we process through all kinds of Ignite specific internals here, basically just doing a lot of validation and eventually ending up to a place where we store the registration, all the node ID details, the validation durations, the deposited token amounts, like how many G tokens the user staked, all of that information. And at the end, when it's time to finish this execution, then Benqi's backend, our backend, will detect that, hey, there's a new validator or a new registration. That's what we call them here internally. There's one new in the queue, and then our backend picks that up and does what it needs to do off chain to start that validator. That's the flow for creating one. When it's time to, or when the validator runs out of validation time, then Ignite processes it like any other Ignite registration. It calls release lock tokens, which basically just tells the contract that, hey, this is now finished, and it allows the user to claim back the tokens. This functionality has remained the same. So basically what we are looking for the audit in this scope is just the this one, register with pre-validated G stake. So how this differs from all the other staking options, because here, if users interact with the core, like the original core Ignite protocol, they would have also a couple of options: register with AVAX fee or register with ERC20 fee. This doesn't do any conversions, unlike the new Zeeve contract, but it just has a little bit of logic to do. Housekeeping for keeping score of what tokens were deposited and all of that stuff. But what all of these do is that they check internally that whatever the token amount is sufficient to cover the fee. But now that we have a little bit of a time difference between when the user goes to this new contract and calls stake with AVAX or stake with ERC20, at that point, when that call is done, there is an off-chain process that starts the node. That may take hopefully just a minute or two, but it can take a little bit longer. And during that time, because prices move up and down all the time, we have made this this new function a little bit less strict in that sense that it checks that we only expect 90% of whatever the current prices would indicate. And that's because Zeeve, this new contract, it's a trusted component of the system, so we can assume that whatever tokens come in from there, it's reasonably in line what we would expect. Right, yeah, that's essentially it, I guess. We have then a lot of setup and admin functionality here to control things like how much limits we want to have within the conversions when we trade the tokens for G, or what kind of tokens we support or not support, normal pausing stuff, price feed configurations, like basically everything you'd expect to find there. In addition to these, we have a third contract, Validator Rewarder, which is a really simple rewarder contract that is used to give out additional G rewards for users who use this new Ignite model. The idea here is that when we deploy or anytime later, we can say that, hey, users who come into this, we would like to give them a predetermined APR that's denominated in G tokens. And at the end of the validation period, the internal logic in Ignite will just call this specific contract with this function, and it will transfer the appropriate amount of G tokens to Ignite and then to the user subsequently. This is really simple. It just assumes a constant APR, and because everything's denominated in G tokens, it's just dealing with G. So no prices, no oracles, simple stuff. Yeah, I think that's that for the like the user-facing parts, plus the flow kind of touching there on the off-chain logic and how Avalanche works. But there's quite a bit of stuff like this. Not really worth going into the details of how these work, admin-only stuff, but I think we covered the important aspects.
Amazing. Thank you very much for that deep dive into the code base. That is very helpful. Just taking a look at the live chat, it looks like we don't have any immediate questions yet, but we will expect to receive some questions from the auditors in the Discord within the next couple of days. As mentioned at the start of this stream, Nico will be in the Discord there to answer any questions that you have when you're reviewing the code base. This contest is live for 2 weeks, so it doesn't close until the 27th of January. So make sure to spend this time to review the code base, rewatch this stream a couple of times just to get completely comfortable with the scope and the intended functionality, and then you'll be set to do the deep dive and see what vulnerabilities that can be found. But we hope that this video has given everybody a head start into the contest, and if you do have any questions, head over to that Discord. Now, before we close off, I just want to say a huge thank you to Mikko for joining today. It's been very helpful, and we will see you all over in the Discord. Thank you all very much for watching.
Amazing. Thank you.